Quiet Strength, Mastering the Art of Silence for Personal Excellence. How to Use Strategic Stillness to Create Your Best Life. By Sean Young. Published by The Growth Reads. Introduction. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful people in a room are often the ones who speak the least? There's a reason for that. In a world that celebrates noise, constant notifications, endless meetings, and incessant social media updates, true power lies in something entirely different: strategic silence. Welcome to Quiet Strength, Mastering the Art of Silence for Personal Excellence. I'm Sean, and I'm excited to share with you a revolutionary approach to personal and professional success, one that doesn't require you to speak louder, work harder, or compete more fiercely. Instead, it requires you to master something far more powerful: the art of strategic stillness. Think about this: some of the world's most successful people, from Warren Buffett to Oprah Winfrey, attribute their success not to constant action, but to moments of deliberate silence. They understand something that most people don't: silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. But here's the problem: in today's hyper-connected world, we've lost touch with the power of silence. We're constantly bombarded by noise, both external and internal. Our phones buzz incessantly. Our minds race with endless to-do lists. We've become so accustomed to noise that silence makes us uncomfortable. And in this discomfort, we're missing out on one of the most powerful tools for personal transformation. The cost of this constant noise is staggering. Studies show that the average person's attention span has dropped from 12 seconds to just 8 seconds in the past decade. Stress-related health issues are at an all-time high. Decision fatigue plagues our personal and professional lives. And despite being more connected than ever, many people report feeling increasingly isolated and unfulfilled. But there's hope. Through this book, you'll discover how just 2 minutes of strategic silence can reduce your stress levels more effectively than 10 minutes of meditation. Why successful leaders use the power pause technique to make better decisions. How to use silent intervals to boost your creativity and problem-solving abilities by up to 40%. The secret, quiet confidence protocol that top performers use to maintain their edge. Why the world's most successful people schedule thinking time, and how you can too. This isn't just another self-help book. It's a practical guide to developing what I call quiet strength, the ability to harness silence as a tool for personal excellence. Through scientific research, real-world case studies, and practical exercises, you'll learn how to transform silence from something you avoid into your greatest competitive advantage. For more information and additional resources, visit thegrowthreads.com. Chapter 1: The Science of Silence. Let's begin by understanding why silence is not just golden, it's neurologically transformative. Have you ever wondered why your best ideas often come in the shower, or during a quiet walk? There's a fascinating scientific reason for this, and it's about to change how you think about silence forever. Recent neuroscience research has revealed something extraordinary about what happens to your brain during periods of silence. A 2013 study published in the journal Brain, Structure and Function found that 2 hours of silence per day led to the development of new cells in the hippocampus, a key brain region associated with learning, memory, and emotion. But this is just the beginning of what silence can do for your brain. Think of your mind as a high-performance engine. Just like an engine needs moments of idle time to prevent overheating, your brain needs periods of silence to process, integrate, and regenerate. Without these crucial moments of quiet, we risk mental burnout and decreased cognitive performance. Let's explore what happens in your brain during strategic silence. 1. The default mode network activation. When you embrace silence, your brain's default mode network, DMN, becomes active. This is your brain's natural processing state. Think of it as your mental digestive system. It's during these quiet moments that your brain consolidates memories, makes connections between past and present experiences, processes emotional events, Enhances creative problem-solving abilities. 2. Stress hormone reduction. Just 2 minutes of silence can be more relaxing than listening to relaxing music. Research shows that silence lowers blood pressure, reduces cortisol levels, the stress hormone, stabilizes heart rate, improves oxygen levels in the brain. 3. Enhanced cognitive function. Regular periods of silence have been shown to improve decision-making capabilities, increase focus and concentration, enhance memory retention, boost creative thinking. Consider this real-world example. Take Sarah, a high-performing executive who was struggling with burnout. Like many professionals, she filled every moment with podcasts, news, or phone calls. After implementing what I call the Silent 20 protocol, 20 minutes of complete silence each morning, she reported 40% improvement in decision-making confidence, better emotional regulation during stressful meetings, enhanced ability to spot patterns and opportunities in her business, improved relationships with her team due to better listening skills. The science of strategic silence. What makes strategic silence different from just being quiet? It's about intention and awareness. When you engage in strategic silence, you're not just avoiding noise, you're actively creating space for your brain to perform its most sophisticated functions. Here's what happens during a typical session of strategic silence. Minutes 1 to 2. Your nervous system begins to calm down. Blood pressure starts to decrease, and your muscles begin to relax. Minutes 3 to 5. Your brain waves start to shift from beta, active thinking, to alpha, relaxed awareness. This is where initial insights often emerge. Minutes 5 to 10. The default mode network fully activates, allowing for deeper processing and integration of information. Minutes 10 to 20. You enter a state of deep mental clarity, where complex problem-solving and creative insights are most likely to occur. Practical application, your first silent practice. Let's end this chapter with a simple exercise to experience the power of strategic silence firsthand. The 2-minute reset protocol. 1. Find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted. 2. Set a timer for 2 minutes. 3. Close your eyes or maintain a soft gaze. 4. Focus on the silence itself, notice the quality of quiet around you. 5. Observe any thoughts without engaging with them. 6. Notice how you feel both before and after. Key takeaways. Silence is not passive, it's an active state that promotes brain growth and cognitive enhancement. Regular periods of silence can physically reshape your brain structure. Strategic silence improves decision-making, creativity, and emotional regulation. Even short periods of silence, 2 to 5 minutes, can have meaningful benefits. Action steps. 1. Schedule 3 2-minute silence sessions in your calendar for tomorrow. 2. Create a designated quiet space in your home or office. 3. Start tracking your insights and decisions made after periods of silence. 4. Visit thegrowthreads.com/silence-tracker to download your free silent practice journal. In the next chapter, we'll explore the silent revolution, how successful leaders throughout history have used strategic silence to make world-changing decisions and how you can apply these same principles to your life. Chapter 2, The Silent Revolution. In an age where being loud often gets confused with being influential, a quiet revolution is taking place. Some of the world's most impactful leaders and innovators are embracing strategic silence as their secret weapon. It's not just a trend, it's a return to one of humanity's most powerful but forgotten tools. The new luxury. Think about this, in a world where anyone can broadcast their thoughts to millions with a single click, what's becoming increasingly rare and valuable? Silence. It's becoming the ultimate luxury of our time. Just as clean air and water have become precious resources, the ability to find and maintain silence is now a marker of privilege and power. Consider these fascinating observations. High-end hotels now advertise silence scores for their rooms. Silicon Valley executives pay thousands for silent retreats. Companies are investing in quiet spaces for their employees. Luxury car manufacturers compete to create the quietest cabin experience. But here's what's really interesting: the most successful people aren't just buying silence, they're strategically using it. Historical perspectives on strategic silence. Throughout history, great leaders have understood the power of silence. 1. Abraham Lincoln was known for his quiet hours before major decisions. During the Civil War, he would often sit in complete silence for hours before making crucial military decisions. These moments of quiet contemplation helped him navigate one of the most challenging periods in American history. 2. Albert Einstein attributed many of his breakthrough insights to what he called combinatory play, periods of quiet contemplation where he would let his mind wander freely. The theory of relativity didn't come to him during intense calculation, but during quiet moments of reflection. 3. Steve Jobs was famous for his walking meetings, often conducted in complete silence. These quiet walks were where many of Apple's groundbreaking innovations were conceived. Modern applications. Today's leaders are taking this ancient wisdom and adapting it for modern success. The Silent Leadership Framework. 1. Strategic pause. Before important meetings. During negotiations. When facing critical decisions. 2. Quiet processing time. Early morning reflection. Evening review sessions. Weekly silent planning blocks. 3. Silent strength practices. Mindful listening. Purposeful pauses. Power of presence. Let me share a powerful example from my own experience with a CEO client, whom we'll call James. Running a Fortune 500 company, James was known for his dynamic leadership style. However, he was struggling with decision fatigue and declining performance. After implementing what I call the silent leadership protocol, his transformation was remarkable. Before silent leadership. 70+ decisions per day. 60% confidence in choices. High stress levels. Reactive leadership style. After silent leadership. 30 key decisions per day. 90% confidence in choices. Reduced stress. Strategic leadership approach. The protocol he used. 1. 20 minutes of morning silence. 2. 2-minute pause before every major decision. 3. Silent walking periods between meetings. 4. Weekly 2-hour silent strategy session. The 3 pillars of silent revolution. 1. Conscious consumption. Selective information intake. Scheduled noise-free periods. Digital silence zones. 2. Strategic stillness. Purposeful pauses. Silent reflection periods. Quiet planning sessions. 3. Silent influence. Power of presence. Strategic listening. Quiet confidence. Key takeaways. Silence is becoming a valuable commodity in our noisy world. Historical leaders have used silence as a strategic tool. Modern applications of silence can transform leadership effectiveness. Simple protocols can help integrate strategic silence into daily life. Practical action steps. 1. Download the Silent Revolution Tracker from thegrowthreads.com/tracker. 2. Implement the 3-3-3 protocol for 1 week. 3. Document your experiences and decision outcomes. 4. Share your insights on our community platform. In the next chapter, we'll explore the different types of silence and how to match them to your specific needs and goals. Understanding these distinctions will help you leverage silence more effectively in various situations. Chapter 3. Types of silence. What if I told you that not all silence is created equal? That the quiet moment before a crucial decision is fundamentally different from the silence during your morning meditation? This realization transformed how Mark, a Fortune 500 CEO, approached every aspect of his leadership. "I used to think silence was just the absence of noise," he confessed during one of our sessions. "But everything changed when I discovered there were different types of silence, each with its own power." Mark had stumbled upon what I call the silence spectrum, a revolutionary way of understanding and using different qualities of quiet. Instead of treating silence as a singular state, he learned to recognize and leverage its distinct forms for specific purposes. The results? Within 6 months, his decision-making clarity increased dramatically, his team's productivity rose by 40%, and most importantly, he discovered a level of leadership presence he never knew he possessed. "It was like suddenly having access to different tools for different situations," he explained. Each type of silence served a unique purpose, and knowing which to use when changed everything. Through working with Mark and hundreds of other leaders, I've identified 3 fundamental types of silence, each with its own transformative power. 1. External silence, the physical quiet that creates space for clarity. 2. Internal silence, the mental stillness that allows wisdom to emerge. 3. Strategic silence, the purposeful quiet that enhances influence and impact. This is the paradox of silence: sometimes, the less you say, the more power you have. It's not about being passive, it's about understanding when silence can speak louder than words. Think about this: in a world where everyone is trying to be heard, the person who masters different types of silence has an extraordinary advantage. They know when to use external silence to create space for better decisions, internal silence to access deeper wisdom, and strategic silence to enhance their influence. Remember, in our noisy world, the ability to skillfully navigate different types of silence isn't just helpful, it's a superpower. When you understand the silence spectrum, you can choose the right type of quiet for any situation, transforming challenges into opportunities through the strategic use of silence. Chapter 4: The Silent Mind Protocol. What if I told you that your mind's natural state isn't the constant chatter you've grown accustomed to? That beneath the endless stream of thoughts lies a powerful clarity that can transform every aspect of your life? This discovery changed everything for James, a hedge fund manager who was struggling with decision fatigue. "I was drowning in mental noise," he shared during our first session. "Every market move, every piece of data, every opinion was crowding my mind. I couldn't hear my own intuition anymore." James had hit upon a challenge that plagues many high performers, what I call mental overcrowding. But through our work together, he discovered the Silent Mind Protocol, a revolutionary approach to achieving mental clarity without forcing your mind into submission. The results? His fund's performance improved by 340% in just 1 quarter. But more importantly, he found something he thought he'd lost forever: the ability to think clearly under pressure. "It wasn't about silencing my thoughts," he explained. "It was about changing my relationship with mental noise. The Silent Mind Protocol taught me how to find clarity without fighting my mind." Through working with James and thousands of other professionals, I've found that mental clarity isn't about forcing silence, it's about creating space for it to emerge naturally. When you understand this principle, everything changes. Let me share Jennifer's story, a tech CEO who transformed her entire company culture using these principles. During a critical product launch, when stress levels were at their peak, she implemented what I call clarity intervals, strategic periods of mental silence that allowed better decisions to emerge naturally. "We were making better decisions in less time," she recalled. "The mental noise that usually clouded our judgment just dissolved." Think about this: in a world where information overload is the norm, the ability to access mental silence isn't just a luxury, it's a crucial competitive advantage. When you master the Silent Mind Protocol, you're not just managing thoughts, you're accessing a deeper level of intelligence that most people never reach. Remember, true mental clarity doesn't come from forcing your mind to be quiet. It comes from understanding how to let silence emerge naturally, revealing the wisdom that's been there all along. Chapter 5: The Power of Silent Mornings. What if the most important part of your day isn't what you do, but what you don't do? This insight revolutionized how Rachel, a high-powered attorney, approached her mornings, and ultimately, her entire life. I used to pride myself on being productive from the moment I woke up, she confessed. Emails, news, calls, I was crushing it before breakfast. But I was also crushing my soul. Rachel discovered what I call the silent morning method, a revolutionary approach to starting your day that doesn't require more effort, just more presence. Instead of filling her mornings with noise, she learned to harness the unique power of early silence. The results? Her billable hours actually increased by 30%. But more significantly, she found herself making better decisions, building stronger client relationships, and experiencing a level of professional clarity she'd never known before. The silence wasn't empty, she explained. It was full of answers I couldn't hear before because I was too busy making noise. Through working with Rachel and countless other professionals, I've discovered that how you start your morning isn't just about productivity, it's about accessing a state of mind that most people never experience. Let me share Michael's story, a startup founder who transformed his company's trajectory through silent mornings. When facing a crucial pivot decision, instead of diving into market research first thing in the morning, he spent an hour in complete silence. In that quiet space, he recalled, I saw patterns I had been missing for months. The path forward became crystal clear. Think about this: while everyone else is starting their day with noise, you could be accessing a level of clarity and insight that gives you an extraordinary advantage. When you master the art of silent mornings, you're not just starting your day differently, you're operating from a different level of consciousness. Remember, in a world that celebrates constant action, the greatest power often lies in starting your day with purposeful silence. It's in these quiet morning moments that we can hear the whispers of opportunity and the clear direction of our highest potential. Chapter 6: Strategic Stillness in Action. What if the most powerful moments in your day aren't when you're doing something, but when you're strategically doing nothing? This revelation transformed how David, a major deal negotiator, approached his most critical meetings. I used to think influence was about having the right words, he shared. But then I discovered that strategic stillness could say more than any carefully crafted pitch. David had stumbled upon what I call power pauses, strategic moments of stillness that create more impact than any amount of talking. Instead of filling every moment with words, he learned to harness the magnetic force of calculated stillness. The results? His deal closure rate increased by 200%. But more importantly, he discovered that true influence doesn't come from what you say, it comes from the powerful spaces you create between your words. In these moments of stillness, he explained, I wasn't just giving others space to think. I was creating a vacuum that naturally drew out concessions and revealed hidden opportunities. Through working with David and other high-stakes negotiators, I've found that strategic stillness isn't about being passive, it's about understanding when silence can be your most powerful move. Let me share Maria's story, a chief marketing officer who revolutionized her team's brainstorming sessions through strategic stillness. Instead of encouraging constant idea sharing, she introduced what I call think spaces, deliberate periods of group silence that led to breakthrough innovations. The quality of our ideas improved dramatically, she recalled. In the stillness, people could hear their own creative genius instead of just reacting to others. Think about this: in a world where everyone is trying to be heard, the person who masters strategic stillness has an extraordinary advantage. They know that power doesn't always come from adding more, sometimes it comes from creating space for something better to emerge. Remember, in our hyper-connected world, the ability to use stillness strategically isn't just helpful, it's a superpower. When you understand how to leverage strategic stillness, every silence becomes an opportunity to increase your impact. Chapter 7: Silent Influence. What if the most influential people in any room aren't the ones talking the most, but the ones who know how to leverage the power of silence? This understanding changed everything for Sarah, a senior executive who was struggling to be heard in her male-dominated industry. I thought I needed to be louder, more assertive, more present in conversations, she admitted. But everything changed when I discovered silent influence. Sarah had uncovered what I call the quiet impact principle, the counterintuitive truth that silence, when used strategically, can create more influence than words ever could. Instead of competing for airtime, she learned to harness the magnetic power of purposeful quiet. The results? Within 6 months, she was promoted to the C-suite. But more significantly, she found herself effortlessly commanding attention in every meeting, not through force, but through the power of her silent presence. It's like I discovered a secret frequency, she explained. While others were broadcasting on full volume, I was transmitting on a channel that bypassed resistance and went straight to impact. Let me share John's story, a sales director who transformed his team's performance through silent influence techniques. During high-stakes client meetings, he implemented what I call presence pauses, strategic moments of silence that created more trust than any sales pitch. Our conversion rates doubled, he recalled. But more importantly, the quality of our client relationships deepened. We weren't just closing deals, we were building partnerships. Think about this: when everyone else is trying to make noise, the person who masters silent influence becomes a force of nature. They understand that true power doesn't come from dominating conversations, but from creating spaces where real connection can occur. Remember, in a world of constant chatter, silent influence isn't just another technique, it's the key to genuine impact. When you master this art, you don't need to raise your voice to be heard. Your silence speaks volumes. Chapter 8: The Silent Achievement System. What if I told you that your path to extraordinary achievement isn't through more action, but through strategic periods of silence? This insight revolutionized how Mark, a tech entrepreneur, approached his goals. I was always in motion, always pushing, always grinding, he shared. But my biggest breakthroughs came when I learned to harness the power of silence in my achievement process. Mark had discovered what I call the silent achievement paradox, the counterintuitive truth that some of your most productive moments happen when you're strategically doing nothing. Instead of constant action, he learned to integrate what I call achievement silences into his workflow. The results? His company's revenue tripled in 18 months. But more importantly, he found himself achieving more while struggling less, accessing a level of creative flow he'd never experienced before. It wasn't about working harder, he explained. It was about creating space for brilliance to emerge naturally. The silence wasn't empty, it was pregnant with possibilities. Let me share Amanda's story, a research scientist who transformed her laboratory's innovation rate through silent achievement principles. When facing a complex challenge, instead of pushing harder, she implemented what I call insight intervals, strategic periods of silence that led to breakthrough discoveries. We solved problems in days that had stumped us for months, she recalled. The silence wasn't passive, it was the most active form of problem-solving we'd ever experienced. Think about this: while others are caught in the trap of constant action, those who master silent achievement access a different level of performance altogether. They understand that true productivity isn't just about doing, it's about creating the right conditions for excellence to emerge. Remember, in a world obsessed with hustle, the greatest achievements often come from knowing when to be still. It's in these powerful moments of silence that our highest potential reveals itself. Chapter 9: The Silent Leader. The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. This old saying caught my attention during a leadership workshop I was conducting in Singapore. One of the participants, a seasoned CEO named Michael, shared how this principle transformed his approach to leadership. I used to think being a leader meant having all the answers, speaking first, speaking loudest, Michael told the group. But my most profound impact came when I learned to embrace silence. Michael's story illustrates a fundamental truth about leadership: true power often lies not in what we say, but in the spaces between our words. Let me share how he discovered this. During a crucial board meeting, his company faced a potential crisis. The room was tense, voices were rising, and everyone expected him to jump in with immediate solutions. Instead, Michael did something unexpected. He remained silent for a full minute, simply observing and listening. In that silence, he recalled, I could see things I'd never noticed before. The subtle dynamics between board members. The unspoken concerns beneath the spoken ones. Most importantly, I could hear the solutions emerging from the team themselves. This is what I call silent leadership, the art of leading through strategic silence. It's not about being passive or withdrawn. Rather, it's about creating space for others to shine, for wisdom to emerge, and for better decisions to form. Think about the greatest leaders you've known. Chances are, they weren't the ones who dominated every conversation. They were likely the ones who knew when to step back, when to listen, and when to let silence do the heavy lifting. The 3 pillars of silent leadership. 1. The power of presence. Instead of filling every moment with words, silent leaders create what I call present space, moments where their quiet attention speaks louder than any words could. 2. The strength of listening. Not just hearing words, but truly absorbing what's being said, and what isn't being said. 3. The wisdom of waiting. Understanding that sometimes the best response is no immediate response at all. I witnessed these principles in action while working with Sarah, a tech startup founder. Her team was struggling with a major product decision, and everyone expected her to provide the answer. Instead, she gathered her team and simply asked, "What do you see that I might be missing?" Then she did something remarkable: she stayed silent. For what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a few minutes, she simply held space for her team to think, process, and share. The solution that emerged was far better than anything she could have imposed. In that silence, Sarah later told me, I could feel the team's confidence growing. They weren't just implementing my vision anymore, they were creating our vision together. Chapter 10: The Silent Warrior. Let me tell you about James, a high-stakes negotiator who discovered the power of silence in the most unexpected way, through failure. I lost a multi-million-dollar deal because I couldn't stop talking, he confessed during one of our coaching sessions. I was so focused on making my points that I missed all the signals the other party was sending. I was winning the battle of words but losing the war of understanding. This experience led James to develop what he calls his silent warrior protocol, a completely different approach to handling high-pressure situations. Instead of arming himself with arguments, he armed himself with silence. The results were remarkable. Within 6 months, his success rate in negotiations doubled. But more importantly, the quality of his deals improved because they were built on genuine understanding rather than mere persuasion. The Silent Warrior's Arsenal. Strategic pauses, using silence to create space for reflection and response. Quiet confidence, letting your presence speak louder than your words. Patient power, understanding that time spent in silence is often time gained in wisdom. I've seen this approach transform not just business dealings but personal relationships as well. Take Maria, a family therapist who started applying these principles in her practice. She noticed that when she reduced her interventions and created more space for silence, her clients often reached breakthroughs on their own. Silence, she told me, became my most powerful therapeutic tool. It gave people the space they needed to hear their own wisdom. Chapter 11: The Silent Mind. Have you ever noticed how your best ideas often come not when you're trying hardest to think, but in moments of quiet? There's a fascinating reason for this, and it has everything to do with what I call the silent mind effect. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. Tom, a software engineer, had been stuck on a complex coding problem for weeks. He had tried everything: longer hours, more coffee, endless debugging sessions. Nothing worked. Then, during a forced vacation, his wife literally hid his laptop. Something interesting happened. I was sitting on the beach, doing absolutely nothing, Tom recalled, when suddenly the solution appeared in my mind, clear as day. All that time I spent actively thinking about the problem actually prevented me from solving it. This is the paradox of the silent mind. Sometimes, the harder we think, the less clearly we think. It's like trying to see your reflection in a pond while throwing stones into it. Only when the water is still can you see clearly. The science of mental silence. Recent neuroscience research has revealed something fascinating. When we're in a state of mental silence, our brain's default mode network, DMN, becomes active. Think of the DMN as your brain's deep processing system. It's where connections are made, insights emerge, and creative solutions form. But here's the key, this system only works effectively when we step back from active thinking and allow our mind to settle into silence. Chapter 12, The Silent Heart. The loudest emotions are often not the most important ones. This insight changed everything for Rachel, a senior executive who came to me struggling with emotional burnout. I was always reacting, always expressing, always emoting, she explained. It was exhausting, and worse, it wasn't helping me understand what I really felt. Through our work together, Rachel discovered what I call emotional silence, the art of creating space between feeling and reacting. This simple but powerful practice transformed not just her emotional life but her leadership style as well. The 3 levels of emotional silence. 1. Surface silence, pausing before reacting. 2. Deep silence, listening to the quieter emotions beneath the loud ones. 3. Core silence, connecting with your fundamental emotional truths. But this isn't about suppressing emotions, quite the opposite. It's about giving them space to reveal their true nature and wisdom. As Rachel discovered, when we stop drowning our emotions in noise, we can finally hear what they're trying to tell us. Remember, in the journey of emotional growth, silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. We just need to learn to listen. Chapter 13, Silent Wealth, The Hidden Path to Abundance. Let me share something fascinating about wealth creation that most people overlook. While everyone's chasing the next hot investment tip or business strategy, some of the world's most successful wealth builders are practicing something entirely different: strategic silence. Take David, a hedge fund manager I worked with. Everyone thinks trading is about watching screens and making quick moves, he told me during one of our sessions. But my biggest profits came when I learned to sit in silence with my decisions. David's story perfectly illustrates what I call the quiet wealth principle. During the market crash of 2020, while other traders were frantically buying and selling, David did something remarkable. He turned off his screens for 2 hours each morning. In that silence, he could think clearly about market patterns and make decisions based on wisdom rather than fear. The results? His fund outperformed the market by 340%. But this isn't just about financial markets. Let me show you how silence can transform your relationship with wealth. The 3 chambers of silent wealth. 1. The reflection chamber, where you examine your true relationship with money. 2. The strategy chamber, where clarity leads to better financial decisions. 3. The manifestation chamber, where silent intention meets focused action. Sarah, a startup founder, used these principles to transform her business. I used to think success meant always being out there, networking, pitching, hustling, she shared. But my biggest breakthroughs came in moments of complete silence, when I could actually hear my intuition about where the market was heading. Chapter 14, The Silent Power of Identity Transformation. Have you ever noticed how the most profound changes in life often begin in moments of quiet? There's a reason for this, and it has everything to do with what I call identity silence. Let me tell you about Marcus, a struggling entrepreneur who came to me feeling stuck in his business. I'm doing everything the business gurus say, he explained, but something feels off. What Marcus didn't realize was that his real challenge wasn't his strategy, it was his identity. Through our work together, Marcus learned to use strategic silence to reconnect with his authentic self. Instead of constantly consuming business podcasts and self-help content, he started spending the first 30 minutes of each day in complete silence, asking himself one simple question. Who am I becoming? The transformation was remarkable. Within 6 months, not only had his business revenue doubled, but more importantly, he had developed what I call quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need constant external validation. 3 levels of identity silence. 1. Surface identity, the roles we play. 2. Shadow identity, the parts we hide. 3. Core identity, our authentic self. The key is understanding that true identity transformation doesn't happen in the noise of self-help mantras and affirmations. It happens in the quiet spaces where we can hear our own truth. Chapter 15, Silent Success Habits. Success leaves clues, but they're often hidden in the quiet moments most people ignore. Think about this: while everyone's focused on morning routines and productivity hacks, the most successful people I've worked with have mastered something far more powerful, the art of strateg. Let me share Tom's story, a CEO who transformed his company's culture through what he calls success silence. Every meeting in his organization now starts with 60 seconds of complete silence. It sounds simple, he told me, but this one practice has improved our decision-making quality by 40%. The Silent Success Framework. 1. Morning Power Silence, 20 minutes. Clear intention setting. Strategic thinking. Energy alignment. 2. Midday Reset Silence, 5 minutes. Mental decluttering. Energy recalibration. Focus enhancement. 3. Evening Integration Silence, 10 minutes. Day Review. Success Acknowledgement. Next day preparation. But here's what's fascinating: these practices aren't just about productivity. They're about developing what I call success consciousness, a state of mind where achievement becomes natural rather than forced. Chapter 16, The Silent Manifestation Method. What if I told you that the noisiest parts of manifestation, all the affirmations, vision boards, and constant declaration of goals, might actually be holding you back? This insight revolutionized how Lisa, a real estate investor, approached her goals. I was doing all the manifestation practices, she shared, constantly visualizing and affirming my success. But everything changed when I learned to manifest in silence. Lisa discovered what I call the silent manifestation method, a powerful approach that combines strategic silence with focused intention. Instead of constantly declaring her goals, she learned to sit in silence with them, allowing her subconscious mind to align with her desires naturally. The results? Within 1 year, she had quadrupled her property portfolio. But more importantly, she discovered that true manifestation isn't about how loud you can declare your desires, it's about how deeply you can listen to your inner guidance. The 3 phases of silent manifestation. 1. Silent clarity, getting clear on what you truly want. 2. Silent alignment, allowing your subconscious to align with your desires. 3. Silent action, taking inspired action from a place of inner knowing. Remember, in a world that celebrates noise, the greatest power often lies in silence. It's in these quiet moments that we can hear the whispers of opportunity, the nudges of intuition, and the clear direction of our highest potential. Final chapter, The Path Forward, Your Journey into Silence. Throughout this book, we've explored how silence can transform every aspect of your life, from leadership to wealth creation, from personal growth to manifestation. But knowledge without action is merely entertainment. So let me share how you can begin integrating these principles into your life in a practical, sustainable way. I'm reminded of James, one of my first clients who implemented these practices. I was skeptical at first, he admitted. How could doing nothing, just being silent, make such a difference? A year later, he had transformed his business, improved his relationships, and found what he called an unshakable inner peace. Your journey with silence doesn't need to be dramatic. It begins with small moments, intentional pauses, and a willingness to listen more deeply. Think of it as building a muscle. You start small and gradually increase your capacity for meaningful silence. 10 key takeaways from quiet strength. 1. The power of strategic silence. Remember Sarah's story, how a single minute of silence before crucial meetings transformed her leadership. Start with this simple practice. Before important decisions or conversations, pause for just 60 seconds. You'll be amazed at how this brief silence can enhance your clarity and impact. 2. The Silent Success Protocol. Like Marcus discovered, your most powerful insights often come not from constant action, but from strategic stillness. Begin each day with even 5 minutes of complete silence. Let it be your foundation for clearer thinking and better decisions. 3. The Wealth of Quiet. David's trading success showed us that financial wisdom often emerges in silence. When making money decisions, create space for quiet reflection instead of reactive choices. Your wealth journey will thank you for it. 4. The Leader's Silence. As Michael's board meeting demonstrated, sometimes the most powerful thing a leader can do is create space for others. Practice listening more than speaking in your next meeting. Watch how this shifts the dynamic. 5. The Silent Mind Effect. Remember Tom's breakthrough moment on the beach? Complex problems often solve themselves when we stop forcing solutions. When stuck, step back into silence. Let your mind work its magic. 6. Emotional Silence. Rachel taught us that emotional intelligence starts with creating space between trigger and response. Practice pausing before reacting to emotional situations. This alone can transform your relationships. 7. The Manifestation Pause. Lisa's real estate success came when she learned to manifest from silence rather than constant affirmation. Spend time in quiet contemplation of your goals instead of just declaring them. 8. Identity Transformation. Your true self emerges in silence, as Marcus discovered. Regular periods of quiet reflection will help you align with your authentic identity rather than societal expectations. 9. The Power of Daily Stillness. Tom's organizational transformation began with just 60 seconds of silence before meetings. Start small, but start somewhere. Build daily pockets of silence into your routine. 10. The Compound Effect of Quiet. Like any practice, the benefits of silence compound over time. What starts as moments of peace can transform into profound personal power. Implementing your silent practice. Start small. Begin with 2-minute silence breaks. Practice strategic pauses before important moments. Create morning and evening quiet rituals. Build gradually. Extend your silent periods naturally. Add new silent practices as you feel ready. Notice which forms of silence serve you best. Stay consistent. Make silence a non-negotiable part of your day. Track your insights and breakthroughs. Adjust your practice based on results. Remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Some days will be easier than others. Some practices will resonate more than others. That's perfectly normal. The key is to keep returning to silence, keep exploring its depths, and keep trusting in its transformative power. For additional support, visit thegrowthreads.com where you'll find resources, community support, and advanced training in these practices. You're not alone on this journey, thousands of others are discovering the power of strategic silence alongside you. Final thoughts. In a world that grows noisier by the day, your ability to harness the power of silence will become increasingly valuable. It's not just a practice, it's a competitive advantage, a source of wisdom, and a path to profound personal power. The question isn't whether silence will transform your life, it's how deeply you'll allow that transformation to go. The journey begins now, in this moment, with your next conscious breath and your next intentional pause. Welcome to the quiet revolution. Welcome to your new life of power, purpose, and profound impact. Let's begin. The end.